Welcome into TYT The Conversation. I'm your host, Adrian Lawrence. And now I'm excited to bring you Meredith Cash, sports reporter for Business Insider. Thank you for joining us, Meredith.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
And we're very excited to have you, particularly because we brought you on to speak about what's going on with Brittney Griner. She's a 6'9" Phoenix Mercury superstar and two-time Olympic gold medalist for the USA, who is still detained in Russia. And as I understand it, that detainment has been extended to about, May 19th? What is going on?
Yes, so right now she's dealing with the very, very different Russian legal system and going through what they call over there an investigation, essentially. And Russia has the wherewithal to basically extend her detainment as long as it continues to investigate. And this May 19th date that you just cited is what a court recently picked out as the next date when they'd need to decide, okay, our investigation needs to continue and this is how much time we need, or we're ready to take this to court. So that's what's happening as of late last week. And that's really the biggest update we've gotten so far, but it's been few and far between the details that we've gotten on this case, which is unsurprising given the fact that it's the Russian government that the US is dealing with here.
Yeah, indeed, it is the Russian government, and it is operating in somewhat of a black box kind of system where we don't necessarily know what's going on. We do have very little information, and I definitely won't hide my cards as being a legal analyst, and I've spoken on this matter in terms of Brittney Griner extensively, including for Insider. And I know you all wrote an article recently about last week about how little information we had. And so just to kind of talk about this just a little bit more so that we fully understand it, we understand that she's being held for allegations involving cannabis and having that. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So the American public only found out about her detainment several weeks after she was actually detained, which we've found out well into this investigation on the American side of things. But I want to say it was February 17th, but right around mid-February, she was detained while flying into a Moscow airport because Russian customs officials claimed that they found a vape pen filled with hashish oil in her bags. And now there's no way on, at least for me as a sports journalist, to confirm that that was actually the case. And we don't really know for sure how much what the Russian customs agents are putting out is valid. But that is the story that Russia is putting out, and that's the story that we have to go with by nature of the fact that that is what we've heard. Yeah. But it's very possible, given the suspect timing of her arrest, the fact that she's been going to Russia for many, many years now, she probably knows the rules that she was dealing with ahead of time. And now this is a situation where she's detained days before a massive international crisis that has put Russia in conflict with the United States pretty directly. It's an interesting conundrum on how to report on it, for sure.
No, I agree. And it definitely seems like something that is worth looking into, or at least speculating, by virtue of the fact that we know Russia hasn't been the most forthright of nations, and we continue to see that on a day-to-day basis. So to take its word for it would honestly, I'll just candidly say, it seemed to be foolish. It's one of those where, at least as far as I'm concerned, I'd love to hear from Brittney first. But in one of your articles, I read that you had interviewed these law professors who were experts in Russia law, but they were very much of the mindset that this has nothing to do with the reason they targeted her for her race or her sexuality in any way, simply because the charges didn't say anything about that. And so I'd love to explore that a little bit more, because as a Black person, as well as someone who is a lawyer and also someone who specializes in systems of oppression and teaches it, it just seemed a little bit off-putting to hear at least this white male law professor, as well as this other male law professor who they do not specialize in these areas, be out here in your article and you're publishing and asking them why race and sexuality have nothing to do with it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think the candid answer here is that race and sexuality always have something to do with it, in the sense that that is part of Brittney Griner's being, right? There's no way to ignore that. There's no way to ignore Russia's history, specifically on LGBT issues. That is not even a history, that is a current issue, that Russia does not have LGBT rights and protections the way that we have in the United States and much of the world now.
Yeah,
at least in
thank you so much for saying that, because I remember when I read that article, I was thinking that does a disservice, especially to people who specialize in this area, and you cannot divorce from the fact that she is a Black woman and a queer woman, especially because she is 6'9". She's going through a Moscow airport in a country where the Black population is 0.0004%, and she's wearing a Black Lives for Peace sweatshirt on her, and the country and the nation doesn't know her well. So to pretend that it has nothing to do with that, so I will leave it up to your co-author Court Gaines for deciding that that should have been published. But I do think that that is an immense disservice to the realities that people of color and also people of the queer community experience. But again, I appreciate you for acknowledging that, because you cannot divorce that from her being. And I do think it does a disservice for her, as well as ignoring the reality that many of us face. But I'd also love to turn to the fact that I know recently her legal team filed for an appeal to try to get her to be allowed to have home detention, because as I understand it, Brittney Griner is staying in a facility where they don't have beds that'll fit her. You know, it's like even the Hilton hotels generally don't have beds that'll fit her. There are special hotel beds that will fit someone of a 6'9" stature. And so the idea of her being on home detention would be great, but then the Russian court said no dice. Do you have any idea why that is?
Yeah, so in speaking to people close to the situation, our understanding was that was pretty much as close to a guaranteed denial by the Russian courts as you can possibly get. I don't think that anyone was expecting that that was going to be granted. Again, considering the circumstances that she was arrested under, considering the fact that she is a well-known entity, she's a 6'9" Black woman. I don't think the Russian government is just willing to let her not be detained at this point and instead go to house arrest. My understanding, though, is that her legal team has been seeing her fairly regularly. Obviously, the situation with the beds is not ideal, not a personal thing by any nature. It's just the fact that she is 6'9", and that is just how it goes. But she's the official word that they're putting out is she's okay. You know, she's in a cell with two people who speak English, who have helped her navigate this, and this is coming out of both from Russian media sources, but also from her team itself. That they are in regular contact with her, they talk with her fairly regularly, and you know, obviously she's not doing great, but she is okay, and she's apparently calm about the whole situation.
Yeah, I would honestly say, just from a perspective of also being a Black woman, albeit only being 5'7", that we tend to roll pretty easy because of oppression. So we're kind of just used to it, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you just keep it moving. At the same time, when we talk about keeping this case moving, so it's my understanding that generally the investigation process is about 2 months, and then they can extend it if they want to, and they can keep it up to a year. And that there's a gentleman named Mark Fogel who was a school teacher or an educator in some sort, and also a US diplomat or national in some way official. And he was caught with cannabis in 2021, and he's still being held there. And they have extended his detainment even before bringing up trial, and that they can do that under the Russian code for about a year. It's my understanding that they also expect them to continue to extend Griner's detention. Are you hearing the same?
I am hearing the same. My understanding from reading that I've done from people that I've spoken to is that there's no reason to expect that she'll be home anytime soon, sadly. What I do think is different here is that there's obviously calls for more attention than it's currently getting, but Griner has been far more talked about than Mark Fogel or any other American who is overseas. And so the American government is working on this behind the scenes. The State Department is making active calls for the consular to actually speak with Griner because they haven't had permission to do so yet. And so if there's any glimmer of hope in this situation, it's that Brittney Griner's celebrity in the States and in Russia, frankly, because she's a star there too, might be bringing the attention from the powers that be that are necessary to get her out.
Yeah, it seems like a difficult situation because if we make too much noise, then Putin will know she's valuable and will toy with us as a response to that. But if we don't make any noise at all, then it's kind of the same predicament we always run into when it comes to the devaluation of Black women's lives here and abroad. But we only got about a minute left, and I know you work very hard at what you do and you share. Is there anything else you want to note in terms of Griner's detainment?
Yeah, I think going off of the last thing that you said is that I spoke to the WNBA commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, just last week, and she was reiterating the same thing, that they're intentionally not releasing as much information as you might expect them to, given that one of their biggest stars is overseas, because they want to say less, push privately, not give Putin more leverage than they can in the event that she is a political bargaining chip, as I think Senator Tim Kaine suggested today.
Yeah, well, thank you so very much. And Meredith, where can people read more of your work and find you on social media?
I write for Sports Insider, so you could find me on Insider's site, and I'm on Twitter at MareCash22. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for real. Thank you so much, Meredith. We appreciate your insight as well as your coverage, and people definitely get out there and follow her. And hopefully we can get Brittney back here in the United States, and we can get her being paid fair and equal wages so she doesn't have to ever play in another country again. Thanks again for joining us, Meredith.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.